You're watching Weekend at Gabe's, and I'm Weekend Gabe. This latest episode was brought to you by the good folks over at the Ghetto Flower. Use our code W@G for an exclusive 15% discount when visiting their site. Tell them I sent you. Now enjoy the show.
To give you an intro on Cosette, somebody I met when I went to go hang out with esteemed friends of the show, Mies and Kimasabi in Los Angeles. I ran into Cosette there. They said, "You got to meet this girl. She's amazing." So we sat down. We had a little conversation. And then we ended up driving down, me and my girl, to go see her show in Nashville on March 18th, which was absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Breaking Sound. We went down there, we did our thing. We met her lovely manager, Claudia, and I'm ever impressed with the amount of work that she does. Singer, songwriter, producer, live instrumentalist, all of that stuff, and visual director, on top of everything. So I'm excited to get into a little bit of that. Cosette, we got you back. That's what I'm talking about.
Sorry, computer mic is weird.
Now you sound great.
No worries.
All good. Thank you so much for giving us your time and appearing here on Weekend at Gabe's. Let's get into it. You got a lot going on, but first up, let's get into the new news. The new single "Strings" is due out tomorrow. Is that still correct?
Yes, absolutely. Because of the time, like 11 o'clock, 12 a.m. for sure, though.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
It might be 11 o'clock tonight or 12 a.m. depending on where you are. But it's New Music Friday, and it'll yes.
Hell yeah. Let's talk about that video really quick, because you posted a little snippet to Instagram today. Features you in an incredibly lit room with almost 1 million strings, and you are at the center of the knot. Talk about that process of putting that video together.
Yes, so I had the absolute pleasure of working with Working Holiday, which is with Chase Denton and his team. And they've worked with some great artists before that I really look up to. And I kind of got connected with him via Instagram. And I had this whole vision of when I made the song, it was about soul ties and feeling tied to someone and the process of cutting that and breaking it. So I really wanted to show that metaphor with like 1 million strings, like you were saying, and just feeling tangled up in them. So we shot that a little over a month ago, and I kind of wanted to wait till closer to the release to share it. And so I'm so excited that I got to share it today.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get into a little bit of your background a little bit. So you sang in the choir. Was that as a child, as a teenager? When did you first start getting introduced into using your voice to make music?
Yeah. I, as a kid, loved sitting my family down at functions and telling them to listen to me sing or watch me dance. I just loved performing in general. And then in elementary school, you could go to choir if you got dropped off Wednesdays an hour before school. So I did that. And then in middle school, there was more clubs to do with singing, and I joined every single one that I could, the musicals. And then in high school, I went to a school called Brentwood Academy, and they had kind of like a glee club type of situation. So I did that, and that's when I really started to learn how to use it and how to part sing in choir really helps build your range. So that's what got me to where I'm at singing wise, and then also arrangement wise, because it really helped build my ear for different harmonies. And that's my favorite thing to do on any of my songs, is to just stack the vocals.
Word. I'm glad you brought up the arrangement. We want to talk a little bit about something that you don't often get lauded for, which is your producing ability, which you actually went to school for at Berklee College of Music, and you have since taken it in a whole different direction since the pandemic. But talk about your time at Berklee, the things that you learned there, and why you decided to hit the road, which has been an incredibly successful decision for you.
Yes, thank you. So like I told you before, I loved singing and I knew that. But that was a kind of about it. And it was senior year and I knew I wanted to do music. But it was still kind of a big leap to audition for music schools. And so once I got accepted to Berklee, I just like went for it, got there and was inspired by all my peers. There were so many talented musicians I was surrounded by, and a lot of people already kind of had it figured out. Like a lot of the other freshmen that I was meeting when I first got there already knew that you can upload your songs through DistroKid or CD Baby, Bandcamp, whatever. I didn't know how any of it worked. So my year was a lot of just being inspired by my peers, learning about the different kind of majors, taking some introductory production classes, and just realizing that all of my favorite artists produce themselves. And there's a level of respect that comes with that I really want out of my career more than anything else, is to be like respected. So I applied for EPD, which is electronic production and sound design, the major. And once I got accepted, it was a bunch of classes showing you the intros to Logic, to Pro Tools, to Ableton. And I was on Logic for a while. The classes definitely helped me feel out everything that it could do, and was a great introduction. And then my sophomore year, I took an Ableton class and started liking that a lot specifically. And then it was the pandemic during my sophomore year, like March 2020. And I was already feeling some type of way about college because I knew what makes you successful as an artist is how much you put out and like what you can prove for yourself in that way, and not necessarily a degree. So once the world was on pause, I had a lot of time to think about what would be best for me. And I wanted to just basically take what I had learned and just apply it, rather than necessarily becoming an absolute master of an audio engineer. I was like, okay, I know enough about production and I learned from my peers about how to release and make videos and stuff like that. So now I just want to do it. And that's what happened.
Hell yeah. And
Mhm.
one of those people who help you execute your ideas, who help you do almost everything that you're involved with, including booking, posting on social media, is your manager, Claudia.
Yay.
So I wanted to get into a little bit of how you guys met. You touched on it in the Nashville Voyager interview, but maybe go a little deeper on who she is, how y'all met, and what she means to you in your career.
Oh my gosh, I love Claudia so much. She's an angel that came to me in the form of like a DM on Instagram, basically. I had put out, I think, maybe 3 singles at that point, or maybe 2. So it was very early on to like releasing and getting in my sound and all of that. But she had been following me for a while and kind of checking me out. And then in the background, I didn't know this till we talked about it later, but basically, she was working at a management firm, and was being heavily mentored by her boss. And her boss kind of gave her the advice during the pandemic to where, you're ready, Claudia, to go do your own thing. Go find an artist that you like and care about and build something together. So that was her goal. And she reached out to one of her friends who also does music in Nashville. And I'm from here. Claudia is from here, from Nashville, Tennessee. And all of the schools in Nashville and high school kind of communicated with each other. So I knew some people that went to Claudia's school, and basically someone told her about me and my music. And then she just sent me a DM that was like, hey, do you have a manager? I said, no. And she's like, do you want one? In a more professional ways. And I was so hesitant at first because I was like, why does anyone want to manage me? I was like, is this person trying to scam me? But we did like a trial run for a month, and she was so helpful about taking my creative ideas and organizing them. Because as an artist, I feel like a lot of artists can relate to feeling like scatterbrained in a way. So it's been super helpful to have her remind me of what I said I wanted to do and help find the timelines to execute it. And she does amazing outreach and a million other things for me. But it's been absolute joy to start building this with Claudia. And since I've been like officially signed with Claudia under her management, like, I don't know, she's really just help get me to where on a track that I want to be going on. So I'm very thankful for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love hearing about you talk about like taking ownership of your career and the creation of the process of making music. But in that same article, your quote as saying like writing songs used to scare you.
Yeah.
So when did that stop being scary for you, and you become more confident in your ability to write? Because you said you like used to always like tell stories and make up stories, but now like sort of converting those stories and these forms of just entertainment to your family, but like sort of consolidating these ideas and putting it into a song structure. When did you sort of build up that confidence where you're like, yes, I know I can do this really well?
I honestly love this story, and I'm glad you asked because it was at Berklee, and there's practice rooms on each floor of our dorm. So at any time, any hour, you can go into the practice rooms and play the piano or bring your instrument, whatever. So I had been starting to do that, and I started trying to figure out piano and messing around with songwriting. And the first one that I wrote there, it's a very, again, I keep bringing up my peers, but it's so important for that school. Basically, I think it was after lunch or something. Like I'd eaten lunch with a group of people. We were going back to the practice rooms, waiting on our next class or whatever. And I was like, I wanna show you guys something I wrote. And I played them, but I Stay, which I released way later. But basically, I played that for them, and I just remember Taj going, "You're a really good songwriter," and
Mm.
that, I'm not kidding. That just changed everything for me because I run so much off of like words of affirmation that someone telling me I was a good songwriter, I was like, oh my gosh, I would guess I'm a good songwriter, so I can write songs now. Like that's how it felt, at least in my brain, you know?
Oh, hell yeah.
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 And you're also, on top of being an incredible songwriter, a person with an incredibly diverse taste in music. Would you also talk about in that interview? You talk about listening to CDs in the car, and you touch on that was something that was inspired by your first love.
Yeah.
Without getting too much into the personal life of Cosette Lunsford, can you dive a little deeper there? Talk about what that time period was like. Does that inform your songwriting to this day? You also speak in the interview about being able to go to Berklee and write about your past in a place that wasn't connected to Nashville.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny you said without getting too much into the personal life of Cosette. Like that is my music. I think that I have this weird curse. I think I've just come to accept it, that like I am here to experience a lot of different types of love and relationships, and some of it's romantic, some of it's not. But yeah, he was my first love, was super into music and was super into production, and he had an ear for it himself, and he would just kind of point it out to me, and I really think that helped me like pay attention to the sonics of a song. And also it was the first time that I understood, this is so cheesy, but it's the first time I understood what the lyrics meant, like what those songs were talking about, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to be able to do that. So I think just life experience definitely just gives me everything I need to write a song. And I also analyze in retrospect a lot of times about what I said, what they said, where we were, and that's all songwriting, right? So I think, yeah, you're supposed to write about what you know, and that's definitely been the rest that I've been using, at least.
Yeah.
Can I extract the point of that story about the CD part of it? Because
Yeah.
as you were like talking about like DistroKid and getting your music out there,
Yeah.
and I know that, and Sam is young enough to notice as well. Like when you listen to a CD, like you were committed to
Yeah.
the CD. Like everything on the album, like you were listening to that one
Yeah.
thing. That there wasn't a lot of like. I mean, yeah, you probably had a CD book, but once you pop that album in, you were just committed. So
Yeah.
how does that sort of that either nostalgia for music and the way you experience it, how do you use that in the way that you like to release music? Because we begin singles, and obviously there's a bigger project on the way out. But do you prefer like kind of like the single release, or would you have wished like, yeah, I wish I could have held this all together and gave it to people like in a big project, like the way I was getting music?
Yeah. I think that the CD thing definitely made me see it makes everyone who listens to a CD, because like you said, you're committed to it. You're committed to that world that the artist built. Um,
Right.
and it's not only given to you sonically, but also you're holding like the physical art form of it. And when you go on the inside, there's another picture. And usually if you kind of take that out, there's a little book.
I
And that's
missed the book, by the way. I missed the
Yeah, I
book.
missed the books too. I was total
right.
nerd. I would read the books front to back.
Yeah. And like, and sometimes there's even a poster. And so not if like you're not only given lyrics and subject matter and like production style, whatever, and the music, but you're also given the art. And in the art is like the color palette. And I think that is so important. And I definitely have some type of minor form of synesthesia or something, because like songs do sound like colors for sure. And
Hmm.
I think listening to CDs helped me appreciate that like people are really building a world around this concept. And you start to memorize the track orders, and yeah, it just would I okay. And then the second part of your question is like, would I prefer do I prefer singles or maybe albums or EPs? And I definitely prefer like trying to make a world for and like I talked about earlier about how I feel like people respect production. I also think people respect artists that make an entire like era out of what they're doing. And
Sure.
so that's always the goal. And I wish that things were still a little bit more centered towards an album or EP, but I don't want to sound too like I'm complaining at all. But I think that if you just find a glue for the singles, that's what I'm trying to do with this project that'll be coming out around the end of summer. I want strings to connect with all of the other singles visually and somewhat sonically without being the same thing. I love trying to make it all like a cohesive moment for sure, for sure.
Mm. And it's tough to do that. It's tough to world build. Certainly, when you look back on Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, they got into heated arguments about this stuff. But with that said, off the back of your latest EP, Game Boy, which came with some also incredible visuals that are out now on your YouTube page, the one with the arcade sticks out in my mind.
Thank
Uh,
Right.
a huge one that we love. But what can we expect from this new EP off the back of Strings, which is obviously dropping tomorrow? But there is a bigger project in the works here, and you've been all over the country building this thing.
you. Yes, thank you so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed Game Boy and that you like the arcade thing.
Very
Yeah,
dope.
I wanted to build a concept around Game Boy, and have all of them kind of give you that 80s synth arcade Tron type of thing. And for this project, because okay, so the way this project came to be is that I did not want to write music at all. I was kind of going through something. I was going through a little breakup, and I was really sad. And I felt like I spent a lot of time talking about it with my friends or with my mom or whoever. And so when it was nighttime, which is usually when I create music, I just wanted to produce. Like I just wanted to like try to disconnect, if anything, from my emotions rather than like reach in, which songwriting kind of requires you to do. So it started with just making beats, and I got really inspired by this record right here. Actually, I'll pull it out. It's called Love is Blue. I don't know.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
I found it at McKay's, which if you live in Nashville, I think they might be other places, but basically got it for like $1 or something. And there's 4 vinyls in there with a lot of orchestral moments. They're covers of like best of the 1960s. So they're old songs, but they're arranged with a full orchestra, and some moments are just the strings and some of it's big full band. So I just started making beats trying to like flip this album just for fun. And then at a certain point, some of them just stuck out more to me. Some of them felt good and felt like the best production work that I've done. And that is definitely something that I want to like prove myself in and emphasize at this stage in my career. And so I was like, I have to keep working on these because like I just think sonically this is the first time that I represented truly how I felt with the music. I think I have like written what I've wanted to say before, but I don't think I've fully like communicated with music in that type of way what I wanted to say. So once 3 or 4 of them started like standing out to me, then I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of have like a project in the works, don't I? And I started just off the top of my head just like singing things and not worrying too much at all because like I said, I didn't want to write. I didn't want to like feel too much. So I just was saying the first things that came to mind about situations, and that in a sense was more honest and raw because I just wasn't trying. It was just like how I felt like, hey, guess what? Like, I don't need you anyway. Like I was looking at the clothes on the ground and there was a bunch of stuff I needed to get rid of his. And I just was pissed and the song felt pissed. And then I found these letters from him and I was like, well, I can't throw that away. So then my mood kind of changed to like a softer type of like sadness rather than anger. And so does the song and the lyrics reflect that. And the aesthetic, I think that I'm feeling inspired by.
Can you repeat that last part one more time? I think we lost you. Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, we got you. No worries.
Anyway, aesthetic inspired is kind of.
Ooh.
It's like a Renaissance type of moment. I have a whole like
Okay, so you're making a lot of these then.
yeah. There's a whole mood board. I think the violin strings feel like Renaissance imagery to me. It feels like gold. It feels like fabric that's draping. It feels like white. It feels like a very classy type of opulent and romanticization of that time period too. Like there's princesses, there's white knights, like there's all that type of stuff. So that's what I'm feeling inspired by, and I want the whole project to kind of reflect that type of imagery.
Hell yeah. Before we get out of here, we'd like to have a little bit of fun with the last question of the night. So we're going to play a very basic game, but a very fun game of Would You Rather. So we're going to get to this here. Would you rather play Bonnaroo or Coachella?
That's so.
Bonnaroo. That's a local call, but I appreciate it.
I'm
Very
sorry.
much appreciate
I love
it.
Bonnaroo. That was the first music festival I went to. I have the best memories there. A dream of mine to play, and I would love to play Coachella too, but playing Bonnaroo would feel full circle type of.
Hell yeah. All right, next one on the list. So we have 2 types of CDs. I think everybody in the group can know this. There were the album CDs that came with the booklet that were very well put together. And then there was a different kind of CD made by your friend in the back of an iTunes somewhere deep and buried. So either or, would you rather an album CD or a mixtape CD?
Mixtape. I think it's just special because the person curating, you know, they picked an order and really just artist song. So mixtape. I would be honored to one day run on someone else's mixtape that they got as a gift or something. It's a great gift, by the way.
Okay. That's a solid pick. I agree too. The
Mix-
curation is very important. All right, we're running out of time here, so we gotta
Okay.
go kind of fast paced here. Would you rather East Coast or West Coast? You've lived on both, or at least done a lot on both.
West Coast.
West Coast, that's it. Would you rather working on somebody else's song? Would you rather get a producer credit or the director credit for making the video?
Ooh. Direct credit. And that's my mind. It's funny. I want direct.
Oh, okay, that's a good call. Okay, this is sort of a long and complicated one, so bear with me.
Okay.
Would you rather not be able to make music at all, but your fashion budget is insane? You can buy literally anything you want at all. Or opposite, you can make great music, but you have to dress homeless.
I feel like dress homeless because it's kind of vibe now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm with that. All about the music. I love that. And the last one of the night, live instrument or laptop?
Laptop.
Boom.
There you go.
You heard it here first, folks.
All right. Cosette, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Weekend at Gabe's. The new single Strings is out tomorrow on all digital streaming platforms. Go put it into your life. It'll be the best decision for new Friday music. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing more from you and moving into the future. And you're always welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. I really thank you.
No worries. Peace.
Cosette Lunsford here on Weekend at Gabe's tonight. Listen, man, I enjoy her spirit. I enjoy her motivations. I like her self-determination to figure stuff out. And, having management behind you definitely is going to give her that additional push that she needs.
Yeah, that's a big win, man. And, always big for artists just getting started to have those positive people who really know what they're doing in their corner. So I will say this. There's a lot more coming from Cosette. You will see her everywhere very, very soon. So stay in tune with her, and I'm sure we'll have her back on the show down the line when she's got more projects to talk about.
Thank you for watching the latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's on YouTube, brought to you by the Ghetto Flower. Make sure to also click on the links in the description for more information to our guests and access to exclusive new music from the Ghetto Flower and so much more. Make sure to also like and subscribe to the show, and also continue to share, support, and show love by clicking on any of the links surrounding my head. Thanks for watching.